How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another Friday in the Matrix. Sorry if you hear a little bit of a fan noise. It's hot as shit where I'm at right now, so trying to stay cool. That way I can hang out with you guys without overheating. I really appreciate you guys. Got about 100 people up in here. We'll let some more people join in. Oh snap, I'm on time actually. I'm only 1 minute past 5. All right. I actually spent this entire day without looking at a clock up until about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. I kind of just felt it. I was like, oh, it's getting pretty close to 5 p.m. I've been trying to practice that like one day a week to just randomly select, today's the day to not have time. But here we are, coordinating as usual, leveraging on time. Got a different drone video today, but equally as astonishing and beautiful. So got some really beautiful visuals for sure. Try to get to 500, 600 people tonight. Go ahead and share the link to this live stream over with some friends and family. People who are in the know, those who are in their process of expansion. No human mosquitoes tonight. We will be applying our human mosquito bug repellent very early on, as we usually do. It only takes me about 10 minutes or so to say something spicy enough to get an Agent Smith to go away. Ramaya, sending you love. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining the YouTube membership. Oh, I see your red pill became an orange pill. That's dope. I love seeing the little pill logos next to people's name. Appreciate you. Jerry, Cordy G, sending you lots of love. And the Wolf Pack, Eleonora, sending you love. How's Amsterdam going? I've been hearing a lot of mixed, experiences over there in the Netherlands. I can't speak for it, obviously, because I'm not there, but I know I have a lot of Wolfpack, Dutch Wolfpack in the house. And apparently there's some really intense farming protests going on. Classic NWO shenanigans, getting people, specifically the farmers, into a pressure point. What a classic agenda. But we saw this coming, right? I assume the farmers already knew that this would come, hence the speed at which they organized to start their protest. But, everywhere around the world has a lot of agent provocateur kind of paid military or police force who are dressed up as if they're somebody who's rioting or protesting or something of that sort, but in actuality they're paid for by the apex predator, funded by the elite, and they're there to cause chaos or excite violence. And this world will never change with violence. It'll only continue to be what it's always been. Again, this world changes very rapidly once the chosen remember who they are, and in this process, You stop giving this game your energy. You learn how to get its energy and make that energy be of service to you. This is why they like you protesting, they like you rioting, they like you fighting each other, because it's all part of the division. We could work together very quickly, very almost in moments, if we aligned in a way that was conscious and that was aware of the collective, rather than this scarcity mindset that so many people tap into when chaos arises. See, that's the big difference. And I'm not speaking for the Netherlands, of course. I'm speaking for the world at large, because it's the world that's going through this change together. And when we go through chaos, it's very natural for those to tap into a scarcity mindset and to want to extract from other beings in order to promote themselves or to save themselves. And that is the exact opposite of how the world changes. That is what the world has been doing ever since history has started. Essentially beating or winning, or this desire to compete against our fellow man. But I'll remind everyone of one very important thing. Competition is for losers. A family, a community, doesn't need competition in order to maintain. The competition is what actually keeps all these other communities divided. And this desire for having more power or more wins or more money or more resources or more anything to somehow protect yourself from the problem is exactly what the problem truly is. Because that breeds the scarcity mindset. That breeds a mentality of selfishness. And I see how well the elite has spun this web to get each type of individual, no matter where you're at in your journey, somehow caught off guard into thinking of some external solution or answer. When in reality, it was always within. The answer was always right there, within you. So as change ramps up across the world stage, we're going to be seeing a lot of violence, a lot of chaos, a lot of devastation. But it need not be. But it will be, because we're unable to work together. And we think that protest and we think that harming other communities or harming military or harming police or doing whatever is some sort of solution. Just remember, it is seemingly a solution, but it is a momentary solution. When you desire change through force of others, you get momentary change. It starts with seeking to change self and to know thyself. That is the gateway to the real change, to sustaining change. Dustin says, "What's up, all you beautiful gods and goddesses?" I love that energy. Enlightened Dad, appreciate you. Okay, we got about 200 people up in here. Mad, Deborah, Johnny, appreciate all of you. Adele, I'm doing better every day. Appreciate you, sending you love. Had a really nice time yesterday on this Clubhouse get-together that was hosted by Mystery School, I believe it was called. And maybe the individual who coordinated it and invited me, I believe his name is Jay. Perhaps he's here with us tonight in the live stream, but that event was really cool. I'm glad that I was able to get a little bit of time in there. I had a bunch of meetings yesterday. I was super busy, but I was glad that I was able to fit in that little bit of time and to communicate with some people that we haven't been able to talk with before. So if any of you have come over from that Clubhouse meeting, I really appreciate you. Welcome. It's going to be a spicy night. It's really great to be able to connect with other communities outside of the crypto sphere. It's been really a game changer. And it's been a focus of mine actually since transitioning into the new year, as you've all noticed already. Scott Bryce, sending you lots of love, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up tonight. Scott gave a very generous super chat last live stream, and I really appreciate you for supporting my work. I'm infinitely grateful. It really means a lot to me. Anyone who's supporting my work. I love all of you. Happy man. How's it going, Jay? Crypto Tasha. Appreciate you. Truth. Appreciate you. D-Hex TA. How's it going, brother? Alaris? I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but yes, you're an OG wolf. Appreciate you showing up. It's amazing to see some people who've been following, since before the channel had like 500 subscribers. And here we are. I mean, I believe we're over 40,000 now. So it looks like my channel has outpaced the Bitcoin price. Who do you think's going to hit 100K first? My channel or Bitcoin? You guys could vote on that. But no, seriously. Some individual reached out to me and they were asking, what it's been like to have this kind of growth in the channel. And I'll lay it down very simply here, and perhaps people like Alaris and Dustin and those Jody, anyone who's been here since the beginning. During my first couple live streams, I said something, and it was really me saying it, channeling this concept, this energy to help people tap into their abundance. But I said that I'm speaking to billions of people. Even if I see that there's 200 people or 400 or 500 watching, I speak my words as if it's being heard by millions, billions. The biggest thing about tapping into abundance is not getting so limited and to having a vision. And when you have a vision that's very expansive and you don't create these unnecessary ceilings. See, too many people through goal setting and through trying to achieve something, they set these really like low level targets. And in order to do this matrix like an architect rather than a subject, in order to tap into that architect within you, you need to create goals that are so above and beyond what you ever imagined. And when that's your goal, whatever the space in between this present moment and that outcome is, just consider that to be your process. And when you fall in love with your process and you've created a goal that is so extraordinary that you never imagined you could achieve, but you have this ruthless belief in yourself and you trust everyone who's part of that process, that's where you unlock this energy that was hidden within. Instead of looking outward, you really go within. So at the early days of speaking to, maybe 50 people on a live stream or having 1,000 people, following my work, I was still giving it the energy as if there was hundreds of thousands. I still am today. And part of what that person asked me was, do you feel like it's harder to spread your truth or to speak your truth? Do you feel yourself getting the type of attention that makes you want to hold back? And I actually answered this a little bit yesterday on that Clubhouse meeting, that I've had a lot of confrontational moments with myself where I've come to this place where I no longer have any fear. I don't fear death. I don't fear food shortage. I don't fear what military could do. I don't fear any upcoming psyop. I have no worries. Whatever happens tomorrow happens, and I'm okay with that. All I know is that I'm protected, and I've surrounded myself by people in the past. When I said that I'm protected, this is the number one way you could test if the people you're surrounding yourself with are there for you or not. You tell them that you're not worried about tomorrow, you're not worried about the future, because you are protected. And if they don't vibe with that, if they don't resonate with that, those people aren't destined for your code. Those are agents. That's a huge sign. When you hear another individual, another creator say that they're protected and they know that this is their path and they're serving their purpose, you should feel overwhelmed with joy for that individual to know what they're doing, to have knowing, to actually become knowing. Might seem foreign to many, but in actuality, it's there. It's achievable, but it requires this fearlessness. Just to wake up every day and know you're protected and know that it's gonna be perfect. The present moment, the now moment, is perfection itself. It is magic. It's not misery. It's not trauma. It's not worry. It's not doubt. It can be if you like it to be. But that's not an architect. That's a subject. That is somebody who's being told how to behave and who behaves accordingly. It's somebody who's waiting around for the savior, somebody who's trying to prevent themselves from the boogeyman. All of that need not exist when you finally decide what you are, what you're here to do. Don't let it be someone else's plan. Be the plan. Become your plan. Sometimes we make it way too complicated, and the complications are due to yesterday and tomorrow. When you're in the present moment, everything is crystal clear. Trio Design says, "Hey Jordan, it was so awesome to listen to you on Magic Mystery School." Okay, yeah, so that's what it's called, Magic Mystery School, I believe. The Clubhouse meeting. It was my first time ever using Clubhouse. As you guys know, I have no social media, just my YouTube channel, and I don't really use the YouTube like social media. It's pretty much just the platform. Cordici, he's securing the bag of black grapes. I actually found some decently high quality pineapple recently, so I've been indulging in that. Most pineapple is really bad. It's like picked way too early and it's super acidic. And if you eat any fruit that is acidic and it starts to actually like burn your mouth, it's a sign that it's not right. It's not tree ripened. And I would not eat that. There's been many pineapples that I've had that I just threw away because I was like, this is fucking up my body. But yeah, that's the unfortunate compromise of wanting to eat foods of water in a first world scenario that doesn't really grow too much of its, or it could grow its own food, but it decides to be part of the globalist regime of nonsense. Anyways, Keep it high vibe. No black grapes for me, but maybe tomorrow. Danny, much love to you over in Bavaria. Kevin, appreciate you. Jai Chef, saw love. Callan, sending love from the mountains in Mexico. Ooh, Jackie Tucker just said, just had to cut ties with my best friend. Years of letdown, disappointment, and negative energy finally released. Best wishes to all. Well, Jackie, kind of comes back to what I said a little bit before. You know, was this individual in your life, were they there as part of your code? Are you going to accept them as part of your code? I believe sometimes when we go back and look at the chapters of the book that we shared with another individual, whether it's your best friend, your family, your girlfriend, your mother, whatever, it's these expectations that we build in these connections. We have these expectations. And one of the biggest disappointments, I'm sure you could all agree on, is when you're putting in more energy than someone else. But that's where you're failing. Stop putting in energy into other people. Put energy into yourself. Become the magician, and then all the other players in the game start to be of service to you, as opposed to the other way around. The disappointment lies in your expectations of them being as great or as good or as talented or as caring as you. But when you accept your greatness, when you truly accept your greatness, Jackie, everything will disappoint you then because you'll be the brightest star everywhere you go. I'd rather you just be the brightest star. Own that energy. Release this disappointment. I know these people of our past, these players in our game, they have all these memories, these traumas, these connections, these attachments. But when we let go, when we are ready to let go, it is an amazing energy release. But as you just said, negative energy finally released. That's important that you notice that. And of course, I'm not speaking 100% directly to you, always towards the collective here. But sometimes we need to cut off the agents in our matrix. Sometimes we have to say no. When you become higher self, you're going to be saying no a lot more than you say yes. You're going to be turning down a lot more things than you accept because you start to analyze in a different way. And the reason I say this is because most of the players in the game, they want to talk about monotonous, mundane, uneventful theatrics. They want to discuss the gas prices and what the president's up to. When you choose to be great, when you make that quantum leap, those conversational points, you no longer identify with those. So it will bring discomfort to you when you're the brightest star in the room. If you believe everyone else has the same frequency or capability of the frequency of you, remember it requires them to make the same choice you did. And imagine the effort and how difficult it is for someone to accept their greatness. It is like one of the most difficult challenges for the individual, for the self to break free from identity, for the self to break free from duality consciousness, from the self to break free from a linear reality. That takes balls. That takes a will. That takes just such a special individual to finally jump that hurdle. It's scary. But in order to change, you need to desire to change. And sometimes that change comes from you changing the players in your game. Elo Adventure, I appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much. To make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. Appreciate you supporting me. Says, what kind of foods would you recommend for toddlers, kids? Do you eat anything else besides fruits? Thank you for your knowledge. You help me a lot. Well, first of all, I appreciate you, and it means a lot to me that I've helped. So when it comes to babies, to toddlers, they should be on breast milk until they're ready to move off of that. And after they move off of that, it would be best to give them whole fruit. And if their teeth are not developed yet, you could simply, this is a very easy thing to do, by the way. You could take like a whole apple, organic, whatever the highest quality you can get. You could take a whole apple, put it inside of a pot with about 1 inch of water, like an inch or two of the best water you can find. Of course, you always want to feed your children the highest quality of anything, right? They don't require too many calories anyways. So, and the mother produces the calories and the energy for the starting phase of the baby's life. But after it weans, you would want to put it on fruit. It's the food it's designed for. Their digestive system is way too underdeveloped. Their gut microbiota is in near perfection, unless they've been vaccinated a lot, and that's a separate story. But to get back to your specific answer, you take like an apple, put about 1 inch or 2 of water, boil that until the like about 5 minutes, and then turn it on the other side another 5 minutes. And this will make it turn into like almost applesauce, but inside of the skin of the apple. And then you could literally put that in a bowl, let that cool down to room temperature, and you could take whatever little spoon that you feed your baby with, and you could just break off little pieces of that apple. It will be so soft and so easy for the baby to eat. And you could do this with a lot of foods. You could do this with pears. You can do this. You could even, another really easy thing would just be take a banana. Banana, you could just take raw, put it in a bowl, mash it up. It's perfect. So be simple. Babies have a perfect digestive system, but it's very fragile because it's so perfect. So a lot of things can instantaneously harm the baby's gut microbiota, could start dehydrating the baby, and will start making the baby have a destroyed digestive system very early on in its life, and could start developing issues with their organs, their glandular system, etc. So obviously the best thing to start with is the food that the baby is designed to eat, which is breast milk. And then from there, softened fruits until it develops teeth, and then you go from there accordingly. Obviously, fresh fruit is better. Fresh watery fruit is really great. Watermelons would be awesome for babies because it doesn't require too much effort. And what food do I eat besides fruit? I eat a lot of things. I'm plant-based though, so I hold myself back from excessively eating processed foods. I don't really jive with any specific diet though. I don't call myself a vegan or a vegetarian or an omnivore or any of that. I just eat the foods of Mother Nature that don't have adrenochrome in them. And I choose to predominantly focus on foods that are mostly fresh water, because the body is a water system, and that's what maintains the hydrative state of the human organism. And whenever I get into anything, I try to learn how to do it myself. So I learn how to make beer, learn how to make coffee, learn how to make sourdough bread, learn how to, I try to learn as much as possible, so that way there's always a skill involved with what it is that I'm consuming. This way I could have respect and understanding for those who do the task. Because there's nothing more hilarious to me than somebody who goes to a restaurant, like someone who never cooked in their entire life. They go to a restaurant and they start judging the cooking. It's like, well, what do you do? do you know how to cook? Like, if the answer is no, then like maybe just, So what I'm trying to say here is judgment is a huge piece of the consumption process. And one of the ways that we could really elevate as consumers is to practice the things that we're the most interested in consuming. If you love wine, go to a winery, go to a vineyard, learn about it, read a book about it, go start really diving deeper into the practice. And you'll see that there's so much more to what we're getting on the surface just within that bottle of wine. Like what's between the cork and your wine glass is a story and a farmer and a plot of land, soil, vines. You see? Yeah, you see the depth here? So there's so much more in between, and I love that. That is the process. That's what you hear me say all the time. Script your outcome and fall in love with the process. I love learning the process. I'm really excited actually to be taking on more endeavors in life where I go just learn skills from other people. I've always been interested in having, mentorships. I'm a mentor. I'm a coach. I coach many people. I'm coming out with a new coaching program very soon, actually. But I still myself need to be stimulated by the knowledge and wisdom of other creators. People who don't do the thing people who do the thing that I like to consume. And that's the beautiful, give and take of our reality, of what community is, of what society could be. If society was comprised of people who were artists, creatives, but simultaneously conscious consumers, this world would be so great. Because it wouldn't come with the judgment and the finger pointing and the negativity and the competition that comes with the standard society, which is this dog eat dog. I got to do better than you. I got to be better than you. I got to make more money than you. I got to do this, that, and the third. That type of mentality has really kind of tore us down as a people. And if the masses have no desire to learn about what it takes to farm, or what it takes to create music, or what it takes to build houses or whatever, we have a community, a populace of people who don't know anything, essentially. They have no ability to do. And that is the biggest slight of what's happening on the world stage, pushing people into a digital reality, a digital world, virtual reality, metaverse, whatever you want to call it, having people slowly move into that. And the creator that is within them has been forfeited. The individual chose to not practice or stimulate the creator within them. But I know who I'm talking to tonight. I'm talking to creators. I'm talking to the ears of leadership. And you guys, you're here in your expansion. You're in your process. You're fine-tuning the journey, as I am doing it as well. Sorry, I'm just turning off my phone real quick. I didn't want to I'm just turning off my ability to receive calls. I didn't want to cancel that stream of consciousness I was on, but it's better off that I just make it so people can't call me. All right. Jody, appreciate you showing up. Much love. I appreciate having you here with us tonight. Vavzilio, I don't know if I said Vazilio, says, Waters, do you agree there is waters above and not some outer space nonsense that we've been taught about in school? Well, my name is Waters Above, so I know you're asking this very politely, and I love you, but yes, there is a firmament dome that separates the waters above from the waters below. Outer space is NASA. It's composite imagery at best. It is photoshopped. And people could actually go out of their way to purchase a high quality zoom lens, even on a regular, like a DSLR. And you could zoom in on one of the celestial bodies, such as Saturn, and you keep zooming in, keep zooming in, and you will see it is just a luminary. It is just a dancing light. There is nothing physical. There's nowhere to land your spaceship. These places that they're calling planets, or even the moon, for instance, the moon is a plasma phenomenon. It is not a solid rock. It is a plasma phenomenon, and it's an optical illusion. And the optical illusion is very easy to actually accept once you understand this firmament dome that separates us from the waters above. Appreciate your question, though. Appreciate you. I got a super chat from Simus. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I appreciate you. Much love. Appreciate the super chat. Says, Jordan, your words... Oh, said your words like angel running through my ears. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. A lot of people compliment my voice. Although, I'm not sure why, but I appreciate it. He said, you have some pain on the left side down the last rib. When I'm hungry or eating... Oh, okay. So when you're hungry or eating, you have pain. Mostly trying to eat healthy fruits, veg. Well, we have to identify first and foremost, is it the rib? Is it like maybe your abdominal muscles? Is it your... What exactly is the pain? Because your last rib, and I don't know, your question is a little bit vague, and I really would love to answer it because you supported my work with a really generous super chat. But I'll just put it like this, okay? Any pain that you're getting on the muscle, on the joints, ligaments, most of that pain is coming from too much pressure, too much tension, and that tension needs to be relieved, okay? So the biggest way would obviously be stretching your fascia, which could be something like foam rolling or doing yoga, stretching, any sort of that. But one other thing you could consider, Simus, is pranayama, or the Wim Hof breathing technique, because you can get some more expansion in your rib cage, kind of exercise your diaphragm a little bit more. One other thing that I would do is watch the way that you sit, watch the way that you hold your neck, like the way you keep your neck, because your posture is everything. And for instance, if you have a day job where like you're sitting 9 to 5, you're just sitting in like a chair all day, and your neck is kind of leaned forward and your chin is not tucked in, and this happens a lot because we have to bend over, like lean over for our keyboards. Another thing could be if you have some sort of pelvic tilt that's not proper, like some sort of anterior pelvic tilt. All of that stuff over time will start creating pain and building up tension in a specific part of your body. So without getting super, super advanced and getting into like specific pressure points, the best thing would just be fix what you do most of the time, which would be the way you lay down in bed, the way you sit, the way you drive in your car, like your posture while you're driving, and the posture while you're eating. If you're eating on a dinner table, that could be causing some problem while you're eating, because the body's not designed to sit in a chair while it's consuming foods, right? So try sitting, and I know a squatting position is out of the question for most people, but at least having like maybe a Japanese style eating setup where like you have a floor table. Sitting with your legs crossed, like in a lotus position, all of that stuff really could be helpful. I gave you a lot of advice just now, by the way, so you might want to rewind and like record everything to get some value out of that. But again, I'm just doing my best to answer with what you gave me, and I appreciate all your kind words. You know, one of the things about my voice, for instance, it could be the way that it is because of all the things I just told you. The way I sit, the way I hold my posture all day, the way that I breathe, the usage of my diaphragm, but more importantly, my voice comes from this kind of energy of I'm no longer trying to prove a point. And a lot of people, when they're speaking, they have this tenseness. They have this energy about them where they're so like aggressive. They're really tense. They're really, their goal is to get somebody to like get it, you know? And I don't have that goal anymore. I just want to channel in my truth and breathe out that truth. Channel in that truth, exhale that truth, and just keep that going. I'm not tense in my speech. I'm not tense in my delivery of gnosis. And again, a lot of us do a lot of talking all day, especially if you have a customer service job or if you're a parent and you're homeschooling, whatever your situation is. Just being a little less aggressive with your talking and being more calm with the delivery of your speech. And another thing is when you're listening to other people. A lot of people have this like they're always trying to interject a lot, and that forcing of the conversation and all of that, that's a sign that somebody's very, very tense and they're not comfortable yet with allowing the conversation to be more like a dance, because they're trying to sword fight. So I always think about my posture when I'm talking, when I'm sitting and doing these long live streams, the way that I'm breathing, the cadence of my speech, everything is about being in balance. That's really what I'm seeking. Haramau Player said something about celebrities being hermaphrodites. Oh yeah. Haramau Player, I appreciate your super chat. Regarding celebrities and regarding people who are famous on the world stage, yes, a lot of them are born with both sexual organs. Then at a very early age, they go through a ritual process, which is really disturbing. There's a channel out there that I think breaks this down really well. I would need to remember it, but it's hard for me to remember things like this because I don't watch too many people's content anymore. But I remember somebody kind of dedicated a lot of time and effort to explaining what I'm essentially saying right now. And this kind of like trans thing that's so popular amongst the high level celebrities. But you could see it. I mean, a lot of these women, they have Adam's apples, it only becomes obvious when you start to actually look at those things. Their jaw structure is not matching their collarbone structure. You can see that men and women have an obvious body type. When you look at a woman and just at your grocery store, you don't even need to see her face. You know that she is a woman because of the way her body looks, the shape, the structure of the skeleton. The same thing goes with the jaw and the actual facial structure. Anybody who's been to like Thailand, you know that it's very and again, I'm not saying anything negative right now. I'm just speaking a truth. There are some parts of Thailand that have an overwhelming amount of like, just call them lady boys. And you can see if you just pay attention to their makeup on their face, you would not be able to tell. But when you look at their body, the structure of the skeleton, you could instantaneously tell. And a lot of these people, they do so much of this like contouring makeup, and they can make their chin and their jaw and their nose look completely different than the way they look without makeup. So it's pretty wild how easy it is to deceive and trick the masses when you have a Hollywood film production. Because not only do you have the makeup, the highest level makeup going on, but you have special effects, you have green screen, you have all this editing, etc. It's very easy to do. And you also have tons of money to do the plastic surgery and bone, they could remove certain bones, certain fat from certain areas of the body, etc. And they go through tons of vocal training, by the way. I've had someone ask me about that in the past. You got to think, like, when you're a high-level celebrity, you're the most controlled individual on this earth. Like, everyone who's listening to this right now, if you guys think that you're not free, think again. Because if you're someone like Justin Bieber or Beyonce, every single thing you do, everything they do in their reality is scripted, and they have to follow a protocol. And the moment they break away from that protocol, you'll know, because they will die. That's how this world works for the apex predators. So Jay-Z and Beyonce and Justin Bieber, they are not elites. They are not part of the bloodline. They are part of secret societies, but they are not the bloodline. The bloodline does not kill or harm their own bloodline. They maintain perpetual balance through working together. They use the celebrities as sock puppets for us. They use them as influencers. That's how this works. And then you have blackmail, etc. You guys probably are already aware of a lot of this. Kevin, I appreciate your super chat. Much love, brother. Kevin says, can you go more in depth about CERN Collider? New distraction seems to be mainstream now. And also, I brought a new Wolf member to your Discord member, my sister Lauren. Oh, I appreciate you. And much love to Lauren. I appreciate you spreading the word and continuing to support my work, brother. That really means a lot to me, and I'm grateful for you. He says that she is in love with your live streams. Oh, that means a lot. Appreciate you. And also, we got 400 people up in here, so welcome, wolves. It's another Friday night hangout in the Matrix. I appreciate every single one of you. Kevin asks about going more in depth about the CERN Hadron Collider and about the distraction and how it seems to be mainstream. So that's a good place to go with it. The fact that you're talking about how it's mainstream. And remember, everything that's popular is wrong. And Kevin, you might have heard me say this many times, actually. I look at CERN and this Hadron Collider as just a distraction away from the real underground, which is the deep underground military bases, cloning facilities, and what they're doing down there with military that doesn't even see the day of the light of day. And scientists, people who are working in underground laboratory facilities that never see the light of day. That is what they're distracting people away from with all this CERN shit, okay? So CERN is just getting a more sophisticated tunneling system going on between the parasitic nations that are from the Bolshevik areas down through into Switzerland, which they're using as a hub for a lot of nefarious activities, particularly human trafficking and moving gold. And then you have that being used as a neutral nation, which is a complete facade for something else. And then you have it connecting up down into the Vatican, which will then have underground bases that go into Egypt and Mesopotamia, and that again connecting to the city of London. It's all about that connection point. Think of it like a spider web, and CERN is at the middle where the spider sits, okay? This is how the spider works and how it operates. It lets the flies land into other parts of the web, and then it'll walk over to that part of the web to take its resource, consume its resource, and just keep it moving. So they want people all caught up in these timelines and Mandela effect. And I get it, guys. I get why it's sexy to care about shit like that. I get it. But you, the ones who are listening to this right now, you're on a different timeline already, family. You're on a different... I am not on the same timeline as everyone else. I have a collective timeline for sure, but I also have a timeline that I've tapped into. And that timeline that I've tapped into is totally... It's unlimited. It's infinite. It is consciousness itself. They want you to forget that because they want you to identify with this material prison. You're not the material prison. You're not your body. Your body is just a vessel to host this consciousness. But that's merely all it is. Okay? So they want everyone distracted. And that show Stranger Things, I carved away time to finish it because I had a lot of people telling me you need to watch the last 2 episodes, and people that I trust, like not just randoms. And I watched those last 2 episodes, and you guys know I came out with that decode in my last YouTube video talking about the Georgia Guidestones and its connection to CERN and also Stranger Things. And I didn't even watch Stranger Things, those episodes, before I made that YouTube video. So the next YouTube video I come out with is going to have even more, gems regarding what this is really all about. So there's a lot of predictive programming, and there's a lot of things that they're getting us ready for on the world stage, but they want fear to be the response to all of what they give us. And that's what this CERN thing has brought onto a lot of these truth types, these truthers, or whatever you want to call them. And again, the presentation that I made yesterday was about to free people and relinquish people from that fear about all that bullshit that they were talking about with July 5th. Because so many people on July 3rd, July 4th, they're reaching out to me being like, Jordan, Waters, what's going to happen with CERN on July 5th? And I'm like, you're going to wake up on July 5th and everything's going to be the same. Just like it always is. Because that CERN stuff that they keep pushing out is part of the tentacle of an octopus that includes all the bullshit with Q. That's PSYOP. All the stuff about Trump becoming the president again, that's PSYOP. All the Nasara Jasaris, it's all interwoven into that. And who gave that to you guys? The Pentagon gave that to you guys. The Pentagon created Flat Earth. The Pentagon is what designed and pushed out all of that through the internet. The internet, in the net, in the web. What web? The World Wide Web. That's how they spread these theories, and these theories just embed into people's consciousness, and it parasites off of them, what they get out of it is a huge energy harvesting experiment, and it works every time. So that's why whenever I talk about things that are happening on the world stage, I try to package it and deliver it in a way where it's something that we could utilize, something we could take away, but the ultimate thing that we're taking away is how to not be so fucking scared and caught up in distractions. Because once we get our energy back and we stop giving our energy to these psyops on the world stage, that's when the power comes back to us. And that's when we start becoming the superheroes we always were. Somebody asks, how does one go about raising frequency or vibration? Well, the first thing is not allowing your frequency or energy to go towards things that don't serve you. And that's one of the biggest steps that's required first and foremost to get your power back. And it's just what we were talking about a moment ago. Really, you don't need to be raising your vibrational frequency. You attain that through remembering what you are, through wiping away the amnesia of the programming, through unlearning, through having awareness of the indoctrination, and then wiping that clean. It's really funny, the term brainwashing. It's like, you got to think about what that word means and how they've demonized the term brainwashing. Like, you should want your brain washed, bro, because your brain is filthy. You go to school, you get programmed, everyone around you thinks politics is real, and it's like, it's theater, okay? Like, I know people are going to hear what I just said, and they're like, Waters just said we should be brain. Think about the word brainwashed, okay? Like, they want to turn everything into a negative. They love making a term demonized because everyone just goes ahead and accepts it. But when you have the ability to utilize your insight and your discernment, you could hear that term brainwash. Like, yes, you want to have your brainwash clean of the filth of the indoctrination, and then get out of your mind and go to your heart. The mind can never be pure. The mind is designed to take you from your purity, but for a purpose, for a reason. I mean, we would just be bored all day. But love works the same way, right? We have to remember the ones that we love the most, the people that we're the most in love with, are also the people who can annoy us the most. The people that can make us the most frustrated. It's like, I love you so much, I want to kill you. You know, we've felt that way about people before. It's amazing, the depth of unconditional love. It's weird. But that's what makes it beautiful, because it has that spontaneity. It has that spectrum, that unmeasurable spectrum. And I believe that's something that once we enter that present moment, once we enter the now moment, we're able to actually see what vibration and what frequency we're on for the first time. Some people, it might take psychedelics, you know, it depends. Everyone has a different path and protocol. Some people, it might be meditation. Some people, it might be music. Some people, it might just be washing dishes. Whatever it takes you to enter the now moment is what unlocks the ability for you to even see the bandwidth of frequency that you're operating at. And then from there, you can actually live. That's life. Your life has no purpose. The purpose is life. Okay, we got almost 500 people in here. Beautiful. Kevin says single ingredient food is the way. Well, food should just be a single ingredient. Anything else should not even be considered food in reality. We are the only animal besides domesticated, creatures that has food choice, but beyond that, we are also cooking and developing recipes and doing all this extra shit. In nature, there's one food for every animal, and it sticks to that food, and anything else it doesn't realize as food. It's pretty interesting when you think about what we are and what we choose to do. And again, that's all the mind. That's all the mind. Okay, this will be the last thing I say about food, because I'm seeing there's a lot of talk around it, and just for the sake of keeping this on the direction that is manageable, Danielle, I'm not sure, says, can you talk about how the meat to no meat transition went for you? Meat is more addicting than crack. LOL. Well, it's funny you've identified it as such, because it is, because meat has adrenochrome in it, and adrenochrome is what is creating that addictive behavior. So beyond that, and again, I know that's so spicy, people are probably going to leave, but I don't really give a fuck. So when it comes to the transition of deciding to no longer consume flesh, it happened very naturally. Very naturally. I actually, one day I just kind of snapped out of it. I looked at a cow in person. I looked at it in the eyes, and I just felt this wild connection, like a real deep, where I saw the value to be equivalent to me in a way that it was almost like I was visualizing these animals as our teachers or as our mentors. I was seeing they have this ability to exist within this now moment and to do it in harmony with Mother Nature, something we're not capable of. Actually, we're the complete opposite. We destroyed Mother Nature in this seek for comfort, and then when we got the comfort, we decided to continue destroying Mother Nature for more stimulus. The complete opposite of what the baby or the animal would do. So the baby or the the infant child, kids or animals, they're in their subconscious state predominantly, and there's something we could all learn from that. And it's pretty interesting when you give a newborn baby, for instance, if you gave a baby a raw onion or a piece of raw hamburger meat and you put that in front of the baby's face, it will spit it out. It won't even touch it. You give a baby sugar or a grape or a piece of watermelon or a carrot or breast milk, and it will instantaneously latch onto it, and it'll naturally desire it. It'll naturally continue to go about its process. Now, I just had that moment with animals where I noticed that this is designed, our world is designed to keep people from their expansion through the excessive consumption of adrenochrome, and having us be beasts. And this beastliness is almost like our way of proving our domination and our dominion over all sentience. And I questioned myself on that, and I looked myself in the mirror and I said, this doesn't align with where I'm at in my process. And it was funny too, because when I said that, when I decided to make that change, so many people were like, oh, well, you're going to get sick. You're going to, this is going to happen to you. That's going to happen to you. And I actually became my most healthiest state I've ever been. And I noticed that I was sharper mentally than everyone else. I had more energy. I had the ability to sustain energy longer, and the mental acuity. So the biggest takeaway, though, was when I noticed the effects of conscious awareness. I started to understand, and that was a huge transition point for me, where after that, every time I would see animals in nature, I was really lucky, actually. I went to a place in, I believe it was Sweden, and it was like a lemur park. Like, there's just these ring-tailed lemurs everywhere, and they were just jumping all over me and, kind of like, playing with my hair, and it was just such a lovely experience. And I was sitting there like thinking how pure and blissful and just awesome it was to share that space with that animal. And the way they were interacting with me was very interesting, because there was like 20 people in this area, this enclosed area with all these lemurs, probably 50 lemurs. And I swear, out of the 50 lemurs and the 20 other people, I had about 30 of the lemurs all over me. Like, they were literally like all over me. And then there would be like one lemur scattered around to like each other person. But most of them were actually just in the corner eating fruit. So you'd see like 19 other people, me, covered in fucking lemurs. And then I spoke with a Native American one time, an Aborigine, and I brought that up to them, and I was saying, like, why is it that the animals are really interested in like coming closer to me and being more interactive with me? And then he asked me, how long has it been since you ate flesh? And I said, whatever amount of years. And he said, because they feel your purity. They feel like you're here to serve their harmony. So they respect you. And I was just like, what did you just say to me? First of all, how did he jump to the conclusion to know that I wasn't consuming? And this was not an elder. He was, probably in his like late 40s into 50s. And they hunt in their situation, but you got to remember the stories of Native Americans and Aborigine is very distorted from the true history, because their history was written for us and given to us, but not by them. It was given to us by Caucasus, Anglo-Saxon parasites. So the long and short is, we don't know the truth of the Native American, of the Niji, or of this Aborigine people, because we never heard it directly from them. We learned about it all from. And to make the long story short, when I had that talk with this individual, and he brought up like instantaneously. He was like, how long have you gone without eating flesh? And I was like, oh, this amount of years. And he's like, well, that's the reason. Like, animals are going to be more attracted to you because of the energy that you're vibrating on. Like, the frequency you're vibrating on is not a destructive and murderous and god of war, like an Aries energy. It's not that anymore. You've transcended into a place where you're here to learn from the animal, to learn from Mother Nature, and you've accepted them as your teacher, and because of that, they want to teach you. And remember, you ask and you shall receive. So if you desire, you will get. And sometimes it just takes a more wise individual to break it down for you that way. And that was my experience. And since it's really solidified a lot for me, and it's really made a lot more sense into why my reality has been going the way it's been going. And you guys probably heard my deer story that I had on a huge mushroom trip, and that came way after everything I just explained to you. So again, this is this is kind of one of those experiences that I don't know if I've ever shared before, but I believe that probably summarizes for that person's question. I'm just looking for some questions. Got almost 500 people up in here. Somebody asked me a question on my perspective on energy healing or Reiki. My grandmother does Reiki, and I think it's really interesting, but a lot of people haven't yet healed themselves. And one of the biggest things that comes from this desire to heal others is that you need to remember that when you get into the process of doing magic, you're taking on the energy of the subject. So that means when you're performing Reiki on someone who's traumatized, or they have, whatever tense muscles or something going on in them, that they're seeking you for that energy healing. And again, I don't know too much about Reiki besides a couple experiences with my grandmother. But with that being said, everything is about leaving. All the energy needs somewhere to go. I'll make it very simple. All the energy needs somewhere to go. So when it leaves one vessel, it goes into another vessel. And this is why a lot of doctors or a lot of people that get into helping other people, they take on and actually die from the exact illness or the exact disease that it is that they're working to help people with. Because it's all about the mind. Truthfully, the mind takes on the sickness or the disease because it believes. And through belief, the most powerful technology besides love, you get those outcomes. So Reiki or any form of energy healing is no different unless the person is highly aware of how energy works. So for those that are practicing Reiki or anything of that matter, knowing how to actually deal with the energy is massive. And so many people, their intent of getting into these things is to heal, is to help, is to make life better for someone else, but it's at the expense of self. And I know they might not know they're doing that, but it tends to be that. Because people store a lot of trauma. They store a lot of trauma in their intestines, especially. But to get back onto your specific question, that trauma will leak out of them and go into you. You just have to know how to deal with that once you've accepted that energy. So the desire to do these tasks on other people, I get it. I know why people want to be the savior for others, or they want to help people, or anything of that regard. But just remember, you're accepting someone else's energy into your vessel. And if that person has a low vibrational frequency, if they're very traumatized, if they're, really suffering, you need to know how to deal with someone who's suffering. And that's its own skill. That's its own practice. And that takes mastery. So of course it's possible, because anything is possible. Impossible is an opinion, right? So I would love to learn a little bit more about Reiki and that kind of healing stuff, but I asked my grandma a lot of these questions, and she had no way of answering, and she was considered like a Reiki master. And I said to myself, well, you were given these qualifications and these certifications, but you don't really have any depth or wisdom behind what it is that you're sharing with me, which is telling me that you didn't really learn too much here. You learned external educational material. And that tells me that the person who's handing out those certifications also might be lacking in the wisdom. It's a chain reaction, right? When one who is a teacher or a coach decides to take on a student, really, you could learn a lot through the way that you ask questions to those students, and you see how they react. Where are they at with this? So that was my process, and that's sped up. If you guys want to learn, a big part of skill mastery is seeking those who do the skills, but questioning and asking them where they're at with their knowledge, with their skill set, with their specialization, and seeing how they react, see how they respond. And you can learn a lot if this is the person that you should be dealing with. You'll learn, is this the person that I should be signing myself up with to be my mentor? True mentors and true coaches, they're very, equipped with a knowledge set in their specialization to just instantaneously riff off answers and communications and information. But I notice it's quite the opposite with some of the people that I've talked to regarding specifically that conversation about Reiki, which I've only had 2 conversations with separate people. One of them was my grandma family member, and the other one was another alleged Reiki master. But that's all I could say regarding Reiki, and I'm by no means an expert, so don't, take what I'm saying as some sort of grand opinion, of course. Somebody asked me a question regarding the upcoming course. Yeah, so it is called the Expansion Mastermind, and it's going to be covering a lot of these frequently asked questions of things that I get inside of these live streams, and also people that I've privately coached. A lot of the, big turning point chapters are going to be, all the chapters are going to be based around those big, like, pivotal paradigm shift moments for me and people that I've helped. So it's considering everyone as part of the, overall outline. But yes, that's going to be coming very soon. I might even have it ready by the end of this month. I just don't want to give a date, because I know that's going to, something like this piece of work that I'm about to release is going to be very, very important. And it's better that I take my time on it. It's better that I go slow and I release it when it's ready. But let me get my book real quick, because I have some of the chapters. I'll name the chapters for you guys. I think that'll be a good little teaser. Okay. So first chapter is the alchemy of self. Then it's attention and subconscious mastery. Then mastering potential, which is infinite potential. Tapping into infinite potential is such a key. And then next chapter is becoming water. Then heal thyself, skill mastery, and then the unity of architects. So that is it. It's going to be 9 chapters, and it's going to be set up in a mastermind course style with a new Patreon membership that I'm not going to be breaking down right now, because I do need to kind of coordinate what my commitments will be for that, but it's going to be really, really sick. So I'm excited to get that out there. All right. Seeker66, I appreciate your super chat. sending you lots of love. He says, late to the party, but been here for many lifetimes. That is a fact. You're OG from the beginning. So you've made it to a lot of these live streams. I wonder how many live streams we've done so far. I know like the first 10 or 20 of them were scrapped. I wasn't saving them because there was like computer issues, but now I'm able to save them and archive all of them. I've had people ask me like where to get all the archived live streams. So that's available for Patreon supporters of the Mastermind community. And that's just like a bonus. I mean, it'll give you access to over 50 live streams, but then on top of that, over 60 Red Pill podcasts, all the podcasts being about an hour, 10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes long. So there's tons of value and content for that $10 monthly membership. But yeah, Seeker, OG, appreciate you. He says, Jordan, thank you for being the voice to guide so many. You're awesome, brother. We love you. We appreciate you. Keep going. Now is the time for you. I 100% appreciate you and agree. And I vibe with that. I am aware of my purpose. I'm serving that purpose. I've tapped in. That's really like one of the number one things that I could say that I'm confident of is just I've tapped in. And a lot of the people that we speak with on these live streams, a lot of them have come to me afterwards and been sharing that same energy. Like we're tapping in. We're tapping in as a collective. And that's beautiful. Because if I do well, you do well. And when I honor you doing well, then we all do well. And that mindset is so important. Remember what we spoke about last live stream. We were having a lot of a discussion about community and about why community is falling apart, like why society is operating the way it's operating. And it's a lot of this scarcity mindset and this overprotectiveness. And when you combine those two things together, you get a lot of crime. You get a lot of, you get things like gang culture and people just starting to be violent and aggressive in all of their behavior. It's like when they're driving the car and they're on the road, it's their road. That's how people act. It's my house. It's my lawn. It's my mailbox. It's my street. Really? Are you sure? Because all I see is a skeleton with emotions. The pavement below your feet was not paved by you. You actually took no part in how this block was designed. You're just here now, and somehow you own it. But that ownership, that desire to own everything external, but never own your own greatness. How do you achieve that greatness if you're always trying to be so controlling over the external realm? So this behavior of a scarcity mindset and not wanting to tap into abundance is what society is. It's why I don't take part in society. I have no desire to. I leverage on society. It is what it is. I use it for what it is. I let it serve me, but I will never give it my energy. And I've said this many times. If you visualize your energy as a gas tank and you're doing the work, you're putting in the time and the effort to achieve greatness, and your gas tank is full. When someone wants to come buy your gas from you, you need to make it expensive. Make them sweat. Make them burn calories to get your gasoline. And if you don't know what I mean right now, that's fine. That's okay. I know this is kind of a strange analogy. But your energy, your prana, that's yours. Okay? You can release it to those who harmonize with you, to those you resonate with. Of course you can. This isn't about being selfish. But society looks at you through the lenses of what I just said before. The individual who's driving the car and they're acting like this is their road. and you need to move and you need to go here and you need to, because I got to get to work right now. That type of energy, that is not the expansion. That is not the unity. That is someone who is trapped in their identity, living a linear reality, who wants everything to work for them. So because it doesn't work for them and their expectations are not being met, they become awful. They become a lower vibrational frequency. And all I'm saying to you is, to protect your energy in this simulation, you need to make it expensive for those individuals to siphon your gasoline. To get to my gasoline, you need to go over a moat. You need to climb 100-foot brick wall. You need to fucking walk through a hallway of flames. You need to get past 7 dragons. You need to climb another wall. You need to go find a bookshelf and move it to the specific book to get behind the secret little... I'm going to make it difficult. No one's taking my energy. But you know what that means? I can drip a drop of energy onto someone I love, and it will be life-changing. Because I know my value. I know my worth. For those who are looking for handouts, and for the people who are looking to just make this is all about easy, I'm going to make it ridiculously difficult for them. And the biggest thing is just not giving it attention. So if you take what I just said, and now you apply that to the elite, or the people who are allegedly running the world, you see how quickly your reality changes? Because most people, they're living every moment, every day, in service to some power hierarchy. They believe voting is real, and presidents matter, and the chief of police matters, and the whatever. None of that exists if you don't exist. You just have to recognize how beautiful you are. And that realization is a game changer. But so many people, they wake up every day and the first thing they think is, how do I help this person? How do I make that person's day easier? How do I do this for them? How do I do this for them? It's always about them. But where are you? You're giving out your gas for free to everyone. You're making it super easy. And when you're doing that, you're on their frequency. It's like demoting yourself. It's very difficult to channel this and string this all together off the top of my dome. So for those who are confused, just gotta listen from the heart. You'll know what I'm saying is not about division or any of that sort. It's not about being selfish. It's about awareness of you being infinite consciousness, and you're in this body while you're here in this temple. Be a temple. Don't be a motorhome. You're not a golf cart. Okay? You're a palace. Treat yourself like you're a palace. Treat yourself like you're a queen. Somebody said, I think our purpose as humans is to procreate. I'll tell you something, brother. If we had no cell phones, if we had no laws, if we had no job, if we had no business, if we had no reason to make money, if we had no reason, you know what we would do all day? We would fuck each other. So again, your purpose is just life. It doesn't need to be procreation. You're just going to do that anyways. See, what happens with this idea of discussing purpose is that we want to make it complex. And purpose is the simplest thing. The Mozzie kid, I appreciate you. It really means a lot to me. Your super chat. Much love. Says Jordan, what do you think of seeing angel numbers? I was listening to Jason. It looks like it's a sign of disconnecting from the matrix. Why does anyone want to disconnect? And I'm not speaking to you, Mozzie Kid. I just mean in general. Why does everyone want to disconnect from the matrix? Like, why are so many people addicted to this idea that there's some sort of a game we have to exit? I openly ask this question. One of the big processes of this illumination is becoming the matrix. You want to embody the simulation. It is you. You are it. The number sequences that attach onto us, whether that be through our organic code or they're the things that we see in the present moment, for instance, like the time or a license plate or a specific price on something that we paid for, whether it's an angel number, master number, power number, whatever. It's all about how you connect with it. What does it mean to you? And I know this is really like, I know the Mozzie kid will resonate because been here for a while, hanging out with me for months, weeks, years, but maybe soon to be years. But with that being said, these numbers, a lot of people get caught up in this good or bad, or it's a sign or it's not a sign, or they really desire some meaning or rhyme or reason behind the numbers. And one of the things that I said yesterday in the Clubhouse meeting, I was asked about the number 7 and what it means to me, and what I responded with is the same thing that I'll respond to similarly to this question. The numbers don't mean anything to me because the numbers aren't my purpose. The numbers are just here as part of the coding structure that I've become conscious of. I'm aware of them now. But when I see these numbers, I've learned to alchemize and be the magician of whatever the number sequence is. The number serves me. And what happens when we want to make numbers do something special, something fancy, is they get power over us. And this is what happens with age. So many people are like, I'm 47 years old. Cool. It's irrelevant. That's the age of your vessel in years, according to the Gregorian calendar, which was designed by the Vatican. So sure. But I've decided to move past this identity and be more than that, because I've chose to be. Age is irrelevant. The only time age matters is sexual encounters. Like, just to be straight up. Outside of that, it's a construct that limits a lot of people. But we do have to be honest. If you're 45 years old, you should not be, talking with a 15-year-old. If you do that, I don't think this is the space for you. But sadly, some people are fucked up in the head. And, I've said this before, like, age is irrelevant. And I've had people come at me and be like, well, what if you're talking to... I'm like, come on, bro. You sick? Fucking mental? Anywho. Outside of that, age is extremely limiting, okay? When somebody thinks the number 222 means a specific thing, they create a belief system and it starts to limit them. We cannot be on our expansion if we're creating these artificial ceilings, okay? And when people discuss the Matrix, they want to look at it like it's some sort of like really techie, like artificial intelligence, computer programmy type of thing. And just kind of look into quantum for the moment and see as we zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, there is very vast regions of space in between any physicality that we realize as physicality with our normal eyes. It would take technology to even be able to see at that quantum level that there's vast space between whatever these atoms are. So I think it's important that we stop trying to seek meaning behind any numbers and we start creating our meaning behind the numbers. You see the difference? I challenge everyone to start doing that. Because there we could actually take this knowledge and this information and we could start applying it and being wise. It could take focused action in regards to people creating these stiff meanings behind the number 111 or 333 or 5 or even 666. So many people, 666 is the number of the beast. Who's the beast? You're the beast. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons is carbon. You're a carbon-based being. You are the car. You're the rental vehicle for this consciousness. You're the beast. Now do something about it. We are all beasts when we don't have subconscious mastery. So it's all about a perspective. It's not that the number or the number sequence is evil. It's that it's an opportunity. That's a big takeaway. Remember what I just said. Nothing is about good or evil or right and wrong or good and bad. It's all opportunity. When you become the alchemist, you see it as opportunity. How's everyone's night going? It's like, what time is it right now? I'm trying to not look at the clock. All right. It's like 6:30. We got some more time. Dustin Williams says that part you were talking about CERN was the most influential part of this live stream so far. So uplifting. Of course. Appreciate you. Breathe in, breathe out. Oh, D Vortex said something really important. She said, I feel like if we get out more of our box. So the routine, and that's a huge chapter, super important chapter in my upcoming expansion mastermind. It's going to be called Becoming Water. And it sounds really weird, but think about the flow state, right? And what that means. So that's what that chapter is going to be about. I wrote that chapter out more today, and I was just so excited. It was amazing. Just 2 hours straight, no technology around me, just pen and paper, going ham. And I was writing that chapter, Becoming Water. And it's all about deconstructing the routine and how the word routine has the word root in it. And you're a being of light, and light doesn't want structure. It wants to be seen. It wants to be. It wants to shine. Like you're a star, you want to shine. And you're not going to get to be your most vibrant light if you're stuck in routines. And so many people sell people on these ideas of what's the better routine, and that's nonsense. Routine is structure, and structure is not flow state. And Becoming Water, it's going to be a dope chapter. I'm excited. Jocko Wako, I appreciate your super chat. I don't know if you didn't have any questions, so I can't answer anything. But again, I really appreciate you. Much love. If you have a question, feel free to write it out, and perhaps one of the mods that are here will be able to let me know what your question was. Somebody asked about if I lift. Yes. Lifting weights and doing resistance training with resistance bands is a huge part of my daily, it's just a big part of my life, because it does something for the mental, for the mind. And the word investment ends with ment, M-E-N-T. And whenever you see that suffix ment, that actually means mentis, or the mind. And one of the best investments is the investment in health. That is where true wealth is. And I think anyone could agree, when you start getting into physical exercise, training, whatever that might be, but especially something that pushes you, it keeps you balanced in a whole new way. As long as you do it if you do it with the intent of health. A lot of people do it with the intent of vanity, and that's a huge conversation we could all have, actually. I don't know if now is the time, but it's a big one. Because I know in this world right now, a lot of people are struggling with how they look. They're struggling with accepting themselves, and that's a big part of the Heal Thyself chapter in my upcoming expansion mastermind. And of course, too many people are doing everything for others. We had a long stream of consciousness about it moments ago. But if you're going to the gym, or you're lifting weights, or you're doing yoga, and it's all about looking good for someone else, you're trapping yourself, because you're not going to bring the type of individual that operates on your frequency to you. You're going to bring someone in your life that's attracted to the way you look. And the way you look and your vibrational frequency are different, right? When you stop seeking a partner will arrive. But too many people, they're seeking, and they want to be known, they want to be noticed, but they don't want to put in the work to actually take care of themselves. When you take care of yourself and you have that confidence in self, you just radiate an energy that will attract in a whole different way. Oh, D Vortex asked a question from Patreon members saying that something about the royal family bloodline and how it relates possibly being a different species than us humans. Yes. Yeah, they're absolutely a different bloodline. They're not the same as us in any way, shape, or form besides basic stuff like the way their skin is and their eyes, but they degrade very quickly. They can't deal with the sun at all, so they struggle a lot with that. Their blood type struggles a lot with the sun, which is really fascinating because they're mostly pushing sun worship and the sun worshiping cults through the Abrahamic religions, etc. And I just find that one piece fascinating. And so many people, they call the apex predator like lizards. Like they're like, oh, they're lizard people. But we spoke about this in a past live stream. This idea of shape-shifting lizards and all of that comes from it comes from, again, like the Pentagon, what we were talking about before with like Flat Earth and the Q PSYOP and Nasara Jasara. It's coming from intelligence, all right? That's really where it's derived from. Because they know that once you get people to start thinking about all of that stuff, then you'll be able to create this story and these theories, and then they could branch off accordingly. Now, this is not me saying that they're unable to shapeshift. I am not saying that. I have zero certainty in what I'm sharing. But what I would like people to exercise for a moment is the fact that a lizard likes the sunlight. Lizards live in deserts. Lizards actually live in areas with no trees. They prefer that environment. So please explain to me why the royalty, these alleged shapeshifters, never go outside. They live in underground military bases until they're ready to surface, where they'll come out for small moments during the day. They cover up every inch of their body as much as humanly possible whenever they do go outside, meaning wearing gloves, wearing long sleeve shirts, wearing, really all you can see pretty much is their face. Okay? Now, what I think people are getting to with this idea is that they would like them to be different from us physiologically, and they're not just paying attention to the most important thing, which is the bloodline. So when I started to learn a little bit more about the Boule, which is essentially the Black Freemasons, and their protocol mimicking Skull and Bones, admitting this, by the way, and they call the people at the top of the Boule the Grand Archons. When I started learning more about them, that really, really solidified what was going on here regarding bloodlines and how the people in the Boule will never make it to the top, but they will be at the top of people of color. And all the Grand Archons were mulatto, or they were mixed. They were mixed with Caucasus Anglo-Saxon bloodline. None that were full melanated beings were ever Grand Archons. It was impossible because it was not allowed, because they did not share the bloodline. This is very spicy shit, by the way. Like, a lot of people don't want to hear this because they think it's racist, or they think it's going down that path of race, but it's not. It's just exposing the truth of what it is. The Boule are the gatekeepers of people of color. They are the ones that perpetuated these concepts like the transatlantic slave trade and what was going on with the Aborigine of not only North America, but also of New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, and pushing this concept that for some reason we have the idea of what a Native American is through the lenses of Hollywood and through the history books. And this all comes full circle, guys, because we had a reset, a reset where humanity was wiped out, a depopulation event, and we had resurfaced through underground military bases. And then through there, they decided who would have power, who would be taken, on to do these tasks, who would be put into roles. Because at the higher levels, everything's about compartmentalization. Even in the military, everything is about compartmentalization. Even in Freemasonry, the Illuminati, all levels of secret societies, you're getting this hierarchy, and everyone has their own task and their own job, and they do it in order to maintain posture throughout society. So learning about the Boule really blew my mind, because it showed me that there are groups of people that act like they're doing something for their people, but in actuality, all they're doing is being a gatekeeper to their people. And of course, when they use their own term, their people, they're referring to identity, but they are never, ever, ever referring to bloodline. And your whole history has been told to you by a group of individuals who practice Zionism and who are Bolsheviks. Every piece of history, it's a complete sham. The Vatican, who created the Codex Vaticanus, which went on to become the Bible as we know it today, they are Bolsheviks. They practice this bloodline hierarchy. They're the ones who implemented the system of masonry throughout the Templars, pushing up to Bavaria, to what we call the Bavarian Illuminati, which was founded in the same year as the United States of America, which has everything to do with the founding of the New World. And that New World goes through this process of the slavery story and the Revolutionary War and all the things regarding that, which were all psyops, all make-believe. And then you have agents coming from all angles with this history. Marcus Garvey. You have what's going on with W.E.B. Du Bois. It's pretty amazing stuff, guys. But maybe this wasn't maybe it wasn't time for a Waters Above history class. Trevor, I appreciate your super chat. Much love. Says these events that are forced are downloads for the NPC. Dog Eat Dog World. Makes me laugh because they don't cannibalize on themselves like humans do. I appreciate you, Trevor. It's all about programming. That's really what the masses, or what you call the NPC, is experiencing. They're experiencing an ongoing program where when there's boredom or there's a lulling moment, it's the perfect time to strike. So essentially at that moment of boredom, or when the masses get used to something, the apex predator knows, well, we gotta move it along. We gotta pick a direction now. So it's like the COVID experience, right? It took some time, and then normal people, like completely asleep people, even started waking up. Not fully. They didn't become wise. They just started to notice that, oh shit, this program is wearing off. So when the program starts wearing off, what do? Here's your hyperinflation. Make your gas super expensive. Give them something else. And then with that, you give them narratives, and those narratives are something they can leverage on to complain. So you just have this ever moving wheel of an existence. It's a never-ending, perpetual wheel that spins as an existence. It's not life. They aren't living. They are the walking dead. So when people talk about a zombie apocalypse as if it's something that's coming in the future, wake up. It's already here. And it's been here. Limitless NRG, sending you love. Enki says, some want to exit the matrix because there is a lot of pain. What pain? This is the perfect moment for that Leo Tolstoy quote that I said last time. When you feel pain, you're alive. When you feel other people's pain, you're a human being. Too many are simply human beings which are equivalent to The Walking Dead. Living every moment suffering because of someone else's suffering. They've elected external suffering and pain into their reality as if they are dealing with it, when in actuality, it's all vicarious. With this belief that if you exit the matrix, somehow all the pain goes away, that's a hilarious assumption. To just think that that's the way it goes. That's the same thing that runs through somebody's head when they want to commit suicide. They think, if I just end it now, it'll all go away. Okay. So because you're trapped in an existence because you choose to be, although you have the deck of cards in your hand and you could reshuffle them up and you could deal them accordingly, you have all those opportunities, all those options, but you want to end it because you rather just exist and not try to change your life. In order to change your life, you need to change your life. The reason why you're not happy with your life or you have pain in your life is because you're not living. You're existing. And that existence is stuck between the trauma of yesterday and the worry of tomorrow. And the only time you enter this so-called present moment is on someone else's theater, someone else's drama. It's getting the call from your friend talking shit about someone else, or the drama that happened in your family with your third cousin. That's people's life, or what they believe is a life. And then they wonder why they're depressed. Because you're not living. You're existing. And an existence is thirsty for life. Just like people become thirsty for attention. When you don't get attention, you become thirsty for it. So listen to what I just said. An existence is thirsty for a life. It wants to be a life. It wants to be alive. As an architect, as a creator, I can see it in everyone that I look into their eyes. I can see that someone who exists really wants to live. They yearn for it. And when they see someone else who's living, they get mad. They get upset. They get jealous because they are thirsty to have what they have. While everyone is trying to escape something, to protect themselves from something, is an opportunity missed where you could accept that you are protected already. This desire to make sure tomorrow will be okay and never being in this moment is the same energy someone has when they're not enjoying life so much and they're quote unquote suicidal. And I know this as a fact because I've had so many, and it almost like makes me teary-eyed to say what I'm about to say. But the amount of people that have reached out to me personally after live streams and have discussed this feeling of tension release and how a lot of that depression and anxiety and that fear that they were having actually got released through this hangout that we're having. I can't even count that on both hands anymore. I would have to draw out a list of people. So I know my purpose. I know what I'm here to do. And through that, it's unlocked someone else's ability to get back on track so they could do what they're here to do. And if I could do that for one person, then what more could I ask for? That's more than any amount of money or any amount of achievement. To give the gift of life back to another person. by just simply making them acknowledge and become aware of the choices they've been making to keep themselves trapped in an existence. You notice the way I said that? I articulated it that way on purpose because I was putting the ball in their court. I was making it their responsibility. As much as it was their responsibility to hear what I'm channeling, to resonate, and to utilize. Again, this isn't the truth. This is my truth. But too many people are out there suffering because they think that they need to be suffering, because they've been programmed into a suffering mentality, into a victim consciousness. Only subjects are victims. Become the architect. Become the one. Become the universe. You are the universe. The universe doesn't have time for the sob story. It doesn't have time for the blame game. It doesn't have time of pointing fingers. That shit is soft. Men need to align with their divine masculine, and women need to align with their divine feminine, and we could all come together and actually do something about this now moment, as opposed to bitching, moaning, and complaining about the what ifs or about the way it's pegged against us or how the system is unfair. The only reason the system is unfair is because you believe in the game. The game isn't for architects. The game is for the players, for the subjects. It's for the pawns. And some believe that by being a pawn and doing well and winning, you could somehow get to the end of the board and then promote yourself to the higher piece. Guess what? You're still trapped in the fucking game. And I know the way that I'm speaking right now is like getting slapped in the face by a lightning bolt, but that's what needs to be said. You are either the architect or you're the subject. You're either a piece on the board or you become the board. And then after you become the board, you become the table the board is on. Then you become the light above the table that shines and allows the players to even see the game they're playing. You start becoming the architecture of the moment. We choose to identify as the body, but I challenge you to identify yourself as the matrix. And that little shift will give you a peek or a vision, a sight. It'll give you a vision of what this reality feels like. So many people, they want to win the game. I'm going to beat the game. What game? Tell me the game. Is it getting rich? Is it getting laid? Is it winning the race? Is it being the best? Is it getting employee of the month? What's the game? When you see a 3-year-old playing in the sand with a shovel and a ball, are they playing a game Or are they just playing? See, the difference is a child is the act of play. An adult is playing games. Again, games are for winners and for losers. Playing is for gods. Marius the Red made a very important point. Your lymph glands remove waste through movement. That's, yes. Trampoline is really good for lymph, for moving lymph. And the reason why it's good is because anyone can do it. And it's something that doesn't require a whole lot of energy. It almost is like fun exercise. That's why a lot of people do it. Somebody asked about, so there will be a discount structure for my I think it's Danielle or Daniel asked a question about a discount on the new expansion mastermind. So yeah, any Patreon supporter of mine will get the discount. The thing that I did with the last one was really difficult for me to keep track of, and I did it like to give people a great, discount. And it really kind of destroyed my whole like month when I went with the protocol that I did last time. So I'm going to try to do it this time better and more efficiently and with less problems. But I'm going to do my best to come up with a system. But yeah, anyone who's a Patreon supporter will get a discount. And then I'll have a new Patreon membership coming out soon. I will get into the details of that in a couple weeks, but that's going to be something where it's going to actually include the new course as part of it. So I'm working out the details on that, and I'll get that all out. But yes, anyone who supports my work from the past I always give those individuals discounts. Phoenix said, when Waters becomes popular, is he then wrong? Yes, I am. Everything that I've been saying is wrong. Just having fun, just laughing. Somebody asked a question about the duality of beauty and ugly. To be completely honest, beauty is a thing. Like I'll just come out and admit it. Like in this matrix, it desires more beautiful beings and more beautiful. Everything that's allegedly more beautiful gets a pass. And this makes total sense. I mean, look at, for instance, why are people mass murdering cows all day? every day for food. But nobody's mass murdering cheetahs for food. And people have literally said, well, because cheetahs are wild animals that live in the wild. And, okay, so you can't take fucking 15 cheetahs and just put them inside of a factory farming situation and just continue to let they fuck. That's all they do. All these big cats do. This is going to get spicy as fuck, by the way. All these big cats do is eat a huge meat meal like once a day. Then it makes them tired as shit. Then they lay down, and when they have enough energy, they get up and they fuck. That's all they do. And to catch their food, they are extremely, they burn a lot of energy. The speed at which they run to be able to hunt the way they do. And they have a digestive system, a jaw structure, a gut microbiome, the salival pH. Everything about that animal is designed for consuming raw flesh, okay? Now, that animal, all it really does besides hunting is fucking. So why couldn't we just take a bunch of cheetahs and put them in a factory farming, setup, let them fuck all day, make a bunch of cubs, and then we just eat those like hamburgers? Why don't we do that? Cows in factory farming don't even fuck each other. A man will artificially inseminate and rape the female cow. They also do this in grass-fed farms as well. These places that they call themselves grass-fed, they're still artificially, like a man will stick his hand into the female, like this is what your food is, if you think flesh is your food. And then people are like, oh, trust me, man, I know where my food, yeah, okay. So I would just like people to, and I've told people straight to their face, the reason that we're eating chickens and cows and pigs is because this isn't my opinion. This is just what it is. And I know this because when people look at a cheetah, they go, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God, it's the most beautiful creature ever. And then when we hear a story about someone killing it, we get fucking depressed and we get sad. And the same thing with your cat or with your dog. And then when we hear stories about people eating cats and dogs, we take it personally. But it's a house pet. So we're very selective about what is food and what isn't food, apparently. But at the end of the day, once you strip it of its fur and strip it of its face, you're left with flesh. You're left with protein. Just meat, right? That's what you call it, meat. But when that meat has that beautiful cheetah pattern on it, you don't want to kill it? You're not hungry anymore? Why aren't you hungry? Because it's pretty. Right? This is an interesting thing about humanity. Like, we are very special in that regard. And the same thing comes with opportunities in life. The more beautiful you are, it's a lot easier to get more opportunity. And it's just facts. Like, so that is an aspect of this experience. But I'll tell you one thing. What trumps beauty is wisdom. So if you could be both wise and beautiful, then you're gonna save a lot of time in your struggles in life. Like, I know it sucks to say, but it's just facing reality, and it is what it is. But a lot of the reason the world works the way it does is because of sex and beauty standards and the way we perceive other beings. And I'm not speaking positively or negatively on the matter. I'm just speaking the truth on the matter. Kevin, I appreciate your super chat. Much love. Says, one of my last challenging releases is fear that my children being part of any such phenomenon hosted by these heartless entities. I don't dwell, but it's there. Okay, let me try to read that because it's a little bit confusing. One of my last challenging release is fear that my children being part of any such phenomenon hosted by these heartless entities. Are you talking about your Kevin, are you talking about your children having to go through like some sort of like horrible ritual or something like that? Like, I don't really, I'm trying to understand what you wrote. It's just a little bit challenging for me. Here's the thing, like kids need to be taught how to utilize their intuition. And a lot of the times, because grown-ups don't have any sense of intuition, grown-ups are just programmed beings who are living in a 100% like conscious reality. They're subconsciously programmed to being consumers who are fearful of everything and always living in yesterday and tomorrow and never in this present moment. When you're talking with children who are in their subconscious and do have the ability to access the present moment and who are able to actually play and enter that frequency very easily, like with very little effort, we try to kind of like hypnotize them through this experience we have with age and whatever we've gone through. We somehow believe because we've lived longer on this earth that we're able to tell them some grand advice. And where this all adds up, and this is going to all make sense in a moment, essentially what goes on there is because the grown-up is indoctrinated and the child is being pushed through indoctrination camps called school, you have this cycle of like parasitic energy where the kid is slowly relinquishing its ability to access intuition. Now, with that, you have an egoless being. And we've talked about this before about gurus and cults and how their whole desire is to push their subjects into having no ego because it's like a sexy sales point where these individuals call ego bad always. It's always a negative thing. And they tout the ego death being like this grand experience, and they shit on people for having any sense of ego. And in actuality, your ego is necessary for you to protect yourself in moments where others are trying to harm you, okay? And your ego is there to provide this intuitive perspective, this intuitive technology. That's what I would actually like to call it. It's like the technology of intuition. Someone who has no ego is easy to program. They are very easy to brainwash in a sense of someone else's programming or the narrative, okay? So again, it's always working in opposites. And whenever you hear anyone take one specific concept and they demonize it and they make it always bad, that's a signal for you as an enlightened being to see the light within that thing and to not just go forth and agree with these ideas. So you see the reason why a lot of these gurus turn their communities into cults. And through the process, they love talking about ego being like this negative thing. So what's going on a lot of the time with children who are being taken advantage of, or they're put through these, moments of where they're very gullible, for instance, or they get caught up in something they shouldn't be getting caught up in. It's because their parents a lot of the time are programming them to have no intuition and they don't even know they're doing it. So I don't want to put it on the child in this scenario, but I am very well aware that it's all about self, and some children are just gifted and they have the ability to take care of themselves and not have any of these problems happen. But unfortunately, parents are the main influencer of their children, especially if we're talking about like ages 1 through like 8, 1 through 7 or so. So yeah, just make sure that your child is practicing its intuitive technology, and you'll see it, you'll know it. A big thing is questioning, like we should be letting children feel their experience and to actually be and to live. And a lot of the times we force children into structure. We force them into this kind of addiction to tomorrow, planning and scheduling And all the kid wants to do is play. All the kid wants to do is just have a good time. And we unfortunately have been spellcasted into this belief that school and education is somehow going to solve the problem and make the child better. And that's absolutely not true. Also, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power. Ever. If knowledge was power, then we would have solved a lot of problems on this earth through the education system, which has the doctoral, system, which has higher education, which has night school, diplomas, all these degrees. It's actually done the opposite. Knowledge is not power. Okay? The power resides in the utility of the knowledge, the applied knowledge, wisdom. That is the power. Knowledge is just data. It's just information. Knowledge is the gasoline. Okay? But if the gasoline is inside of your car, but it's in your front seat, how is it going to work? If the gasoline that's in your car is inside of the trunk of the car or in the glove compartment, how will it power the car? This is what all the degrees and information regarding, how to get through reality through the scholastic programming. This is like having gasoline, but in the front seat of your car. It's useless. You need to get the gasoline inside of the gas tank so that it could be used as a fuel to burn and actually perpetuate the car's movement, to actually provide energy. So a lot of us are not lazy. We just have too much information. And with having too much information, we don't know how to use it. We lack the ability to actually utilize the insight, to utilize the information. Okay, so a couple people are asking me about Marcus Garvey and talk about Marcus Garvey being an agent. Yes. Because Marcus Garvey was not from the United States of America. He was an outsider who was down with the boule, and he was being funded by the Rothschilds and high-level elites to live his lavish lifestyle that he had while traveling. And when he started to run out of resources, he came to America and started to push this back to Africa bullshit, when the people of color were here before the Anglo-Saxon. They were here before. This idea of the Native American being like a Maya or a Toltec, and nobody wants to talk about the Native American actually being this person we call the African. It's the story is told to us improperly. I would definitely suggest maybe following the work of Dane Calloway. He does a very good job at breaking that down. I don't know if he gets too much into Marcus Garvey specifically, but he does get into the hoax of the transatlantic slave trade and how the alleged people that were brought here on slave ships that were slaves, black people, that story was told to us completely different than reality. It's a much, much different story. And that, I probably shouldn't say too much more because that really gets people going. Like, I know that specific conversation is too much for people, but I'll just lay it out like this. Marcus Garvey is down with the craft. He was funded by high-level elites, and when they said jump, Marcus Garvey said how high. He was an agent. And this back to Africa theory bullshit that they were pushing, crazy. Because the people that were here on this land knew about the land. They actually knew about how to till this land and how to work with this land. They knew about the tribes that were surrounding them. They actually had awareness of their surroundings. Okay? So who is this man, Marcus Garvey, to come to this place and to try to tell the people that have been living in these lands for hundreds of years before the white man even showed up, and try telling them that they need to go back to Africa when they're not even from there, And if they were to go there, how would they assimilate to their culture? Totally different realities, totally different cultures. So what he was really pushing, what Marcus Garvey was really pushing, was trying to get more people of color out of this country so they could fill up this country with the colonialist, tactics that they ended up implementing anyways. And how the story goes from there. But remember, guys, stories of this history that we're given is very simple to lie. It's very simple to make shit up. Look at the COVID experience. Bro, we all lived through COVID. We know that they created a lie from before it even happened. It was called Event 201. They lied 6 months before COVID even became a thing on the world stage, and then for 2 fucking years it maintained its posture as a fucking truth. Think about that. So you better believe in 10 years when we have history books that they're going to include this COVID-19 experience, and they're going to speak it through the lenses of the people who fucking designed it, who designed the narrative, who designed the story. Right? So imagine what could happen if we have information that's 100 years old. Imagine how easy it is to manipulate 150 or 200-year-old pieces of history. There's no way to verify it. There's zero way to verify it. It could be whatever the storyteller wants it to be. And guess who the storyteller is? The winner. The winner writes the history book. So again, when people are learning truth, you're going to learn about the characters of the truth. And for so many people, when they're learning about the story of our past, they get told Marcus Garvey is like some sort of fucking hero. It's the complete opposite. But we, as ones who are seeking truth, always want to be given a fucking hero. And what I challenge you to do is stop doing that. Also, never go along with the character they demonize. So when they want to tell you that Adolf Hitler is just all of this negative shit, don't fall for that either. There's always more to the story. And again, I'm not saying that I believe in what Hitler did. It was good. That's not it. It's just protecting yourself from falling for the bullshit. Everything has more to it. And a lot of people, they get really caught up in these stories and they want to instantaneously create a bad guy, a villain, and they also want to create a good guy, a hero. This happens this is why Jesus Christ and the story of Christianity worked so well when they got Jesus as the main character. Before you had Jesus as the main character, that Bible was useless. People weren't as addicted to it. People didn't leverage on it as much. But you involve a Jesus guy, and then boom, like people just get sucked into the story. You got the devil, and you got a good guy? Oh shit. People love that. People fucking they eat that up. That's why I challenge people all the time. Like, you need to get out of that because the devil and God is within you. There's a beast, there's a darkness, there's a shadow within you. All I'm saying is to visualize that beast, that shadow, that darkness as an opportunity, because without the darkness, there is no light. So every story that's told to us on the world stage always has a hero and it always has some sort of bad guy. And people love to turn one guy into the other, and that's another fuel for this narrative, for the psyop. That's what they did with Trump. You have the QAnon people trying to turn him into a good guy while the regular people think he's this. And it just keeps going and going and going and going, and people just keep falling for it. It's like, hey guys, there's a king. There is a king. You want to know who it is? There's a queen. You want to know who that person is? There is a Jesus. There is a God. You want to know who that person is? Go walk into your bathroom and look at the fucking mirror. And accept that. Just accept that. Because when you make it external and you believe in that, you're going to get into everything in your reality and you're going to do the same thing. Every piece of history, every movie you watch, every book you read, everything that you interact with will be based in identity. And in the identity that you are separate from the world around you and that the players that you're learning about have to be either good or bad. They must be. One must be for the better, one must be for the worst. One must be for the greater good, one must be for destruction. When you are missing the point is that they need each other. And we will not have unity on this earth, in this physical realm, in this simulacrum, in this matrix, whatever you want to call it. We will never have unity here until the darkness can accept the light and the light can accept the darkness. That is the yin yang. It's given to us. It shows us the simplicity of the circle and the balance. The black within the white within the black. And when you spin the yin yang, when you spin that wheel and you see it start to move, you cannot identify the difference of color anymore. It becomes one. That is what we need. We need to stop picking sides and looking at the left and looking at the right and looking at the no mask and the vaccine and the no vaccine and the Trump is God and the Trump is the devil and the Hitler's a bad guy, and fucking people just need to move on from that. And until they can decide or choose to move on from that, they're going to be stuck. It's like quicksand. And the reason it's like quicksand is because you're watching the reality. You're looking at it because you're talking about players that are not you. You get out of the quicksand when you decide to become the creator. And if people want to make drama and theater and lies and stories about your life, that's a sign you're probably doing something. And that's a whole other story. Dealing with people who are subjects when you've decided to be an architect. That's a whole other conversation. Part of the process is you want to know the rules of the game so that you could properly break them. But there's a lot more steps to go after that. I'm just reading some of your messages. Donut Factory. What's up, my brother? You stepped in at a very spicy time. Simone, sending you love. Sir Beretta says, I don't feel pleasure in anything anymore. Everything became so trivial. I'll ask you this, Sir Beretta. How does this experience make you feel, hanging out with all of us tonight? How is it? Because when I read what you say, I don't think I believe you. When I'm reading what you say, I feel like there's a playfulness and there's like an inner child that like is ready to break through. And perhaps it's because you have some sort of expectation behind the actions that you take to assume that it will provide you with pleasure. So again, you have some sort of expectation that the actions that you take will provide you with pleasure. That's perhaps your mistake. That is why it is trivial. But everything you do is your choice. You're here with us tonight. I believe you chose to be here for a reason. You're here for a reason. We love you. I love you. Like, do you feel that? Just stop this desire and seeking, because that's always external. You know, there's this term that I keep hearing people say, and I'm gonna do what I always do. You know, Chief Waters loves to just waterboard everything else that people like. But there's just this term, truth seeker. Okay, there's no truth to seek. Okay? Truth is within. Again, the enlightenment is not something you achieve through the external. It's something you realize. So, Sir Beretta, you're here because you realize that this moment of hanging out with us at this very time brings you some sort of stimulus, some sort of sensation of purpose, of being. So that's what I believe within you. Jai Chef, much love. Somebody said a cheetah isn't very tender, though. That's a funny joke, but also you best believe if humans were factory farming cheetahs, they would fatten them up real good. They would put them in a 5x5 foot cage, not let them move, get real fucking sedentary, and start giving them antibiotics because they would develop diseases because they won't be able to live their normal, natural life. You know how humans are. We love to do stuff like that. We love to cage up animals and use them for our own pleasure, and then if they die, we'll eat them as long as they have the proper fur. If they have cheetah fur, for some reason, we don't like to eat them. I just find that's really fascinating. But if it has cow fur, oh, get your fucking buns ready. We're going to make a cheeseburger tonight. But nobody wants to look at the female cow after she's done being artificially inseminated by a human being, raped multiple times. Then she has a baby. The baby needs to consume its mother's milk, but that would be considered stealing product according to the humans. So they allow the baby to just have a short little moment with its mother, drinking its milk, and then they take the baby cow away from the mother because it's stealing product. Then they remove the baby cow from its mother. The mother will start making a noise that it doesn't normally make under any other circumstance. It'll essentially start crying, wailing, because it just had its child kidnapped from it because the child was stealing the milk, which humans call product. And that was the moment there when I learned about that, that there's some sadistic psychopathy going on within the human spirit, and that is developing this layer on our reality that is harming us spiritually. It's harming us on a layer that we're unaware of until we actually realize what the spirit realm is all about and what energy and frequency are all about. But for a human being to look at that process and to say that process is just because I like to eat ice cream or have cereal with milk, you're fucked up. You're fucked. Because if we did that to human beings, if we repeatedly put women into a factory and raped them and artificially inseminated them so they could have babies, and then when the baby was ready to drink breast milk, we removed the baby because it was stealing product, and then we literally took the baby away from their mother, kidnapping the baby. I know the woman would start fucking screaming, going nuts. She would stop eating. She would become depressed. And that's what a lot of these female cows do. They become fucking depressed and they stop eating. So what they need to do is fatten up their food and force feed them, because they become depressed. And the first thing that happens when somebody truthfully becomes depressed is they have no desire to consume anymore. They lose their appetite. That we did this shit to human beings, we would see how vile it is, we would see how fucked up it is, and we would stop that within moments. We would stop that within moments. But when we do it with cows, for some reason, it gets a green light because we want to have whipped cream. Like, I had to look myself in the mirror and go through that same moment that I just explained. I had to ask myself, like, can I partake in that? Can I accept that as something that I'm going to practice? No fucking way. And this isn't about being a vegan. This isn't about being against... no. It's about awareness. It's about being moral. It's about not being a fucking psychopath, actually. Those are usually the moments that we get our the human mosquitoes go away. I'm just reading some comments. Alrighty, family. I'm just reading some questions. HB, I appreciate your super chat. Much love. Said hi. Oh, says love Fridays because of these live chats. The knowledge expressed on Friday live chats is priceless. Many synchronicities coming at me. I appreciate you. I'm not sure if you're Holly, but I know you are in our Discord, I believe, as HB. So if you're Holly, sending you lots of love. I know who you are. Hope you're having a beautiful Friday night and a beautiful weekend ahead. CJ Gerard says, have heard many of your decodes and a few streams, gaining valuable interpretive teachings from each, but this one has been an effort listening session. All of this resonates deeply. Appreciate you. Oh, okay. You said this has been an effortless listening session. I feel you. It's all love. It's all love. Ego is just one of the toroidal fields that surrounds us. You know, it's like part of the Merkaba. Like, look at it like layers on an onion. Like, one of those fields is the egoic field. So yes, somebody said something similar. I mean, if you were to really dilute down what ego is, it's essentially just self-awareness. But not the type of self that, not the true self, not the higher self, but it is self-awareness. One of my great friends, made me laugh so hard on a phone call when he said that ego is the co-pilot who's trying to become the pilot. That made me laugh so hard. Oh, okay. Kevin. Kevin sent another super chat, I believe, in response to his last one, and so sorry, Kevin. I might not have given the answer or the. I just didn't understand what you meant, so I really apologize. But thank you for sending another super chat. I believe you're asking the question regarding your children and worrying about them regarding some sort of artificial disaster or world event. Yeah, like a food shortage or something like that. Oh man, yeah, I totally feel you on that. You know, a lot of people have said that they don't want to have kids because of the way the world's going. Like, I've heard this become a popular conversation, and I'm not going to say how I personally feel about that, because I look at having children or making any decision like that as a very spiritual experience, and you need to align with your partner in a way that is deep. You know, you like, a lot of people, they just want to have kids so that they could like fucking, you know, just have kids. And it's like, no, man, it's so much more than that. Like, you're taking on a responsibility, and too many people want to have like a trophy. Like, they think it's like they need to do it because they're getting too old or because this, that, and the third. And it's just like, stop it. Like, you are here to do your purpose and whatever that means to you. And too many people just having kids for no reason. Like, they have no idea of what they're going to do when they take on that position. And that is a serious position to undergo if you're not ready. If you're ready, then by all means, have your child. But a lot of people have asked me this question of like, well, Jordan, you know, the way the world's headed and whatever, like, what should I do about having a kid? Or I want to have a kid. And I believe that's a very scarce mindset to have. Like, don't worry about the future. Don't worry about any of what's to come. Like, do what you feel is right. Do what your intuition paves the way for. So that intuition is sort of like the road in which you drive down. Go down that road if that vibrationally aligns with you, if that resonates with you. But I do know what you mean for those who are out there who already have children and they're worried about these things to come. And don't worry. Like we said earlier in this transmission, believe that you are protected. That protection that I wake up to feeling every day, it allows me to live my day and to not live in, or to not exist in a state of worry. So, but I did give a whole full-blown response to your last question, and I believe that kind of just adds on a little bit at the end. Jay Martinez says, is wisdom gained from knowledge? Wisdom is unlocked from applied knowledge. This word knowledge, again, coming back to gnosis, the inner knowing. That's where wisdom resides. It has a lot to do with the awareness and the unity of all things. Because if you're delivering answers and truths from a duality perspective, then it's never going to be wise. It's always just going to be picking a side. And wisdom doesn't pick sides. Wisdom allows. Wisdom expands. Wisdom knows when to contract. And like a breath in and a breath out, that exhalation and inhalation is part of the cycle. So again, that the wisdom is wrapped and cloaked in awareness of the infinite. Got some serious weather coming in right now. I don't know if you guys heard the thunder. I think we brought some of that energy in tonight. All right, family. I'll chill with you guys for a little bit longer, and then be heading out soon. It's been a live extravaganza. Damn. Much love, Jody. Ooh. Rising Jake said Jung told us to make the darkness conscious. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I said a little bit earlier. Like being aware of the darkness, being aware of the shadow is how you can begin to leverage on it. But that's how all things work. You can't really execute without awareness. I love this. Nah, I don't know about that one. We definitely have a creator. Yeah, you know who created you? Your mother and father. And then who created them? Their mother and father. And then who created them? Their mother and their father. Do we eventually get to God? Or do you just become the divinity? This desire to have some sort of external creator is definitely a very beginner level kind of vision, but it's okay. When you step into Dojo Earth, part of the mastery is just having these trials and tribulations, tripping over the nomenclature, and whilst in that process, always wanting to identify as the external, never being able to actually find the utility in what is within. And without you, there is no creator. So why are we trying so hard to firmly grasp on this being that made everything, when the awareness of everything is only capable through you? You are the God because you're the creator of the reality, the only reality. You might want to believe it's something else. Every time you take a step away from self, you're entering a pit. Because guess what? When you decide that this system has failed, or the game has failed, or you're losing, or you're winning, or whatever that you've identified as part of this external power source, you're going to ebb and flow and sway with it. So if it starts to fail you, you fail. But when we get our power, when we choose to be the power plant, when we choose to become source, then we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and take personal responsibility. We have to actually take some accountability for that. That's why people rather have this external leader, because it's so much easier. It requires strength, and it requires a passion to being great, to actually take that personal responsibility, look yourself in the mirror, and make that choice. I shared the story before about how I talked to my mom about religion at a very early age. And she said that she decided to not be religious or she said she was atheist because her father, my grandfather, died really young from a really unfortunate form of cancer. And I was wise enough at that age to realize that, oh, so when God doesn't work for you, you're mad at him or her. And I saw the same thing working in the other way around. You prayed, something good happened, God's on your side. But when you pray, something bad happens, God works in mysterious ways. Interesting. So, where do you come in? It's the same bullshit with like, oh, my government sucks. Bill Gates is doing this. The Queen Elizabeth does this. Okay, where do you fit in? I know it's hard. I know it's really fucking difficult to look in the mirror and just accept that you're the one holding the controller to this video game. And all I'm saying is once you become aware of that, become an extension of the controller, then start to become the buttons on the controller, then become the cord, the cable that brings you into the video game console, then become the video game console, then become the television, become the fucking nightstand that the television's on, become everything that makes this game what the game is. That's the mastery of the simulation. That is the creator. That is the source. The story of Jesus Christ and God, it is just showing you the computer. Jesus Christ is the physical computer, but a computer is worthless until it connects to Wi-Fi. God or source energy is just the Wi-Fi, the infinite information source, the Akashic records, whatever term you want to use. But you need something to tether you to that, right? You need an Ethernet cable. You need something to connect you to that Wi-Fi. Right? Need a router, something. Okay? What is that thing? What is that thing? It's the belief in self. When Jesus believed that he was the Son of God, what is the Son? What is the Son? It's a power source. It's all just coded. When you choose to become the power source, you become God. You become the Son of God. Again, Jesus Christ, the physical body, the flesh. They even do this crazy ritual shit in Mass where you're like eating crackers and they call that the fucking body of Christ. It's all just a ritual, right? And then you drink his blood, the wine, okay? Anywho, Jesus is the body. The body is just the vessel for consciousness. Jesus Christ is the body, the vessel of consciousness, who becomes the master, the ascended master, through connecting to source energy, becoming the matrix, the knowing one. And the crucifixion event is just showing you the process of letting go of the physical form and being the phoenix who rises from the ashes. That's the last stage of alchemy, called rubedo, to rob time. When you rob time, you become timeless, you become free-flowing, you no longer follow structure. You're a Christ. So all of these stories, it's really difficult for religious people to understand, because religion comes back to religare, which means to bind together. They want you to be part of society. They want you to be part of a practice of cult ritual. They have zero desire for you to expand and become a god within. Because if you did that, then we would have no monetary system. We would have no fucking laws. We would have no any of this. It's the ones who follow the leader who make up society, and that's why we have this parasitic bullshit that we're dealing with today. When one becomes the divinity, you no longer desire to be caged and to be bound together. You are set free. There's a lot of symbology they used to show you in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s of a bird in a cage. And that was flexing on everyone. That was a flex. The Beatles used to do it, fucking Led Zeppelin, Ozzy Osbourne, all these influencers at the time. They used to always show that, the bird in the cage. That's humans. That's being stuck in the mind and not being able to move to the heart. Scott Bryce, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the super chat. Said, just another great live. Thank you. This is great stuff on Fridays while I feel my grapes. When you hear the storms off in the distance, just know I'm close. Yeah, it started storming here, man. We really brought the rain. Oh, somebody asked me, and also, Scott, I really appreciate you, brother. Really, much love. Someone said something about my thoughts on the mythology of the Antichrist. Well, remember, if we're talking about duality consciousness, if you have a Christ, well, then you need an Antichrist. You need a positive and a negative. You need an anode and a cathode. Okay? But the battery as the anode and the cathode, or the pillars of Yakin and Boaz, it needs an energy source. So who is the energy source? Who is the electrolyte? It is you. People need to decide to not be a fucking energy source to this battery anymore. And the way you do that is by breaking away from cults. So those who believe in a Christ must believe in an Antichrist. It's part of the show. It's the hero and the villain. It's what we talked about before. So that like sort of from a mythological standpoint, it's just part of this reality. We need to decide who is the main character in this video game. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be the villain and the hero? If it's the villain and the hero, then you're going to live an existence which is dictated by the rules and regulations, the terms and conditions, and the small print of someone else, of an architect. Okay? When you decide to be Christ-like, when you decide to be divine, you're now setting the rules and regulations of your reality. You're the rule maker. All right? The energy is created as opposed to always consumed. I read that so like quickly, and Rising Jake saying, "Waterboard my reality, daddy." That's too good. All right, my family. It's really Bonnie said, "Welcome to Jordan's reality baptism." Sometimes I'm glad like I'm not consistently reading the quote, like the things you guys say, because whenever I do step in, like whenever I'm reading, I'm really just trying to fully, take in what I'm analyzing, and then when I'm speaking, I put my phone down and I just channel out, so I'm not getting confused or thrown off my energy from the words. So I went back to my phone, and that was the first thing I read, and I just started cracking up. So good. So the Hidden Hand and Infinite Burrows said, we're responding back to some of the things I was saying before about cows, and they brought up human trafficking. Oh, we're totally aware of that, brothers. But the point that I was making was it being out in the open and practiced in public as a normal accepted behavior, as a normal accepted practice. Human trafficking is not out in the open. It's very sophisticated. It's done in a sense that is, you get it. We don't. If you're already aware of that, then that means you know. But we're well aware here about all of that. And if you go back to the beginning of this live stream, you hear us talking a little bit about that stuff as well. Although we don't like to. I don't like to talk about that. The last live stream that I had, we kicked it off with some like really dark question, super chat, like some really dark energy. And it wasn't something I wanted to answer, but I did it. And I'm glad that I did because, again, like the truth is hard to swallow. And it's important that we don't hold back on these. Okay, I'm just going to move through some of these questions because then I have to head out. It's been about 3 hours, I believe. We really did it tonight, didn't we? All right. Appreciate your super chat, Scott. Kevin said, can we talk about Sirius, the Golden and the Dark Age? That's really funny that you brought that up because I literally just had a phone conversation with Logan over at Decode Your Reality. Definitely go over and check out his channel. But that was the last personal conversation that me and Logan had. We were talking about, he was breaking down that Sirius and Golden and Dark and kind of moving away from the dark and getting back towards. So my personal perspective on all of this is we as a collective of the chosen are going to eventually get pressed with a decision. And what I mean by that is those who are illumined are going to be pushed to a place where, because of the collective continuously failing, the only way for us to have success as our smaller collective of illumined beings will probably come through our frustration in the overall collective. Now, what I mean by that is you've heard perhaps Jason over at Archaics talk about this Phoenix phenomenon. You've heard maybe some people talk about the end of the world or the apocalypse or any terms like that. And I actually visualize that the collective of illuminated beings, the collective of the chosen, are the Phoenix. We are the ender of worlds. We lose the desire to hold this physical world and this physical form. We transmutate through that as an alchemical process. So that is a very grand choice to come to terms with. Like, for us as a collective of a smaller collective, of course, a very tiny collective of the overall collective consciousness. For us to come to terms on that is going to require some changes, okay? Because the real enlightened beings are not protesters. We're not out there on the streets trying to, because protesting doesn't do shit. The ones who are really in tune are worrying about themselves. They're keeping themselves and their direct community taken care of. So it's going to take a lot of chaos for us to make some decisions, because the decisions we're used to making are based in keeping ourselves prosperous, based in keeping our direct community prosperous. But what really changes the world, what really will change all of this, is the dimension losing its hold. For instance, part of this shift will come with a liquefaction of our earth. It will come with weather that we've never seen before. It's going to get interesting, okay? And when our people decide that it's time, is when it's time. When the apex predator decides they don't have that much power as you think they do. Their power is through influence, and we are very difficult to influence. We are very difficult to parasite because we came to this earth realm with antivirus software built into us at a cellular level. I know you know this because when you were in school growing up, when you were dealing with, maybe your parents growing up, you always had this opposing kind of vibrational state comparatively to what was going on surrounding you. And that happened over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where in recent events, maybe when 9/11 happened, you instantaneously knew that was an inside job. When COVID happened, you instantaneously knew that was bullshit and that it was just being used to cull people and push medical martial law, etc. The more these events happen, and the more in tune we are as a smaller collective of illuminated beings, we're eventually just going to get too fucking frustrated with this shit. Like, I'm just being real, okay? Now, we don't do this aggressively. Sometimes frustration leads you to doing the most beautiful thing you could ever do. It's called letting go. So when I use the term frustration, don't think I'm like talking about you're behind someone in traffic and there's horns. No, none of that. You don't need to do that. But this is the type of frustration that makes you finally come to that conclusion where you say, okay, I'm done with this matrix. And that's when we'll start seeing the weather, the physical realm itself will start to change. It will start to alter its state. So I'll leave you on that. Don't take what I said in a fearful manner. I just personally visualize, and this is my truth. It's not about your truth. That I'm just telling you how I'm envisioning this. This Phoenix phenomenon, this Phoenix event, is timed with a shift in consciousness, and Mother Earth makes the overall decision of this physical realm, how it's going to go. And all it will take is very small changes for this Earth realm to become uninhabitable. Okay? It only takes maybe 2 big volcanoes to erupt for this place to just be covered in a blanket of ash, no visible sun. That could happen within a day. All right? So the way we prepare for all of this is by not being in fear to any of that stuff. And what they want people to live in fear of is minutia. Stuff that really that doesn't even matter. Like identity politics and what sign is on the bathroom or what new law just passed in what city. Okay? That's what they want people getting caught up in. The spirit or the inner child within awakening, when that awakens within you, this small collective of illuminated beings that I'm speaking about will move into a state of play. And when you move into that energy of playfulness, you're going to no longer desire the game. And that will come along also simultaneously with this shift. And that will be perpetuated through the game becoming too frustrating. And you know what's possible in the future. Metaverse, this social score system being implemented pretty much across the board on a global level, world debt reset program, a unified currency, getting rid of presidents, moving towards having the United Nations be the leading body on Earth, etc. Like all of that stuff. It's very, very possible, and it's easy to implement because the apex predator is a chess player. They have the plans and they have the blueprint. What they are a master of is knowing when to make their move. And what we are a master of is being aware that every move they make has zero impact on us as long as we choose to not let it have an impact on us. So no matter what changes come our way, we already have the mastery of this awareness and how to pivot, how to react, respond, whatever word you like. But the biggest fuck you to the system is not giving it attention. So when you decide to give it attention, have it be for something that serves you. Leverage on it. Okay, got a final super chat from Fasil Medhani. I believe I said your name right. You in Denmark? Appreciate you. Sending you lots of love. Says, hey Jordan, thank you. The Swahili/Hindi wall that fell made me think of the 2024 Olympic, where the black Asia Africa is missing. Thoughts? Well, I actually don't know. Can you, maybe somebody could send a link or something to that? But yeah, so regarding what you just said about the Swahili/Hindi wall, regarding the explosion of the Georgia Guidestones, it's pretty interesting. Somebody also told me that they completely dismantled it like within the same day. So allegedly the Georgia Guidestones are now taken down officially on the date of July 6th. That's super interesting. Remember, the first commandment in that said to maintain humanity under 500 million. But I added up the entire region of India, which I don't think they all speak Hindi, obviously. So I'm not trying to get fancy here, but I just did a very quick calculation. If you took the top countries that speak Swahili, which is like Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, there's like 4 of them. It's spoken as an official language in 4 African countries within the continent of Africa, and it might be by population the most popular language. So if you were to just add up all those nations and then also add up all of India, you're gonna get about like 1.6 billion. And allegedly, the Earth has about 7.9 billion, according to the population. Like, again, this could all be bullshit, but I'm just giving you what they gave me and doing my best. So that doesn't even come close to what the Georgia Guidestone said about 500 million, right? I mean, 1.6 minus 7.9, we still have a lot of people, all right? So I'm interested, and some people have been coming into the comments section of the video talking about how there's a lightning strike that actually come on, guys. There was explosives placed on it. There was a white powder. Yeah, you're talking about the same style of explosives that are pretty much placed in all of these pre-scripted events. Produces this type of, explosion that's moves in a specific way. The light that comes off of it is very specific because of the chemical reaction of the type of explosive. I mean, the idea of the lightning thing, I get it. I get why people are like conspiring here, but who the fuck cares? Like, it's all irrelevant. There's a deeper and more important decode to be had rather than worrying about the style of the explosion. It's just so funny to me how people give the energy to all the things that really are unable to do. It's like, come on now. All right, my family. I'll just say this regarding the Georgia Guidestones, and then we'll move on. Who gave you the footage. All right, my family, this is a good time to sign off. I appreciate every single one of you. It's all love. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend. I'll be having the new Red Pill podcast released this Sunday over on patreon.com/WatersAbove. I'm excited to do that one because the market's kind of been chopping around a little bit. We'll talk about crypto then, of course. And beyond that, have a beautiful weekend. Wishing you all a nice rest of your night. Or if it's Australia, wherever you are, a great start to your day. Appreciate every single one of you. Grateful for every single one of you. Much love, family.